comes in. Kajabi works like this. First, you pick a pipeline blueprint that best suits your needs. Do you want to launch a product, build your list, or run a sales
Let's talk,
webinar?
everybody.
Your blueprint is here. Customize your entire funnel with our drag and drop editor. Point, click, market, done. Boom. It's that easy, like it should. Go to Kajabi.
I'll give you a couple of minutes.
How we gon' come out of this? Why are we allowing this? Why are we so proud of this? I am so not down for this. This is how they wanted us, wanted us. Ever I unjust injustice. Of a bit I'm different, different. Oh shit, I'm irreverent. God forbid I'm hesitant. The group think elevate. Every mind, everyone be great. While the old folks chasing fake. So late, as the good time get late. Faces you tired, I'm running. Don't die, take a break, you done it. Show me down, don't teach. Old folks just preach about the man defeats. And in the combo stops the song. No more. No chorus. Judgment and no real direction, just to follow the lecture to a fucked up election. And they tell me it's Russian, it's the art of division, it's the lack of a teacher for the ones craving leaders. Call me confusion, for I'm full of delusion, but I'm looking to you, and I can be a student. You don't listen to me, how can I listen to you? And the combo stops the song. No chorus. No chorus. Why the hell you assume that I know what to do? This is political. What the hell is the news? And they're raising their voices. How I'm supposed to fight? The rally is dangerous. They're losing their mind. I'm losing my soul. My fist is up high. We voted for her, and he got a sign. I just took my aim. It's been a long time. They still see us late in my heritage line. A rally and VA, we rally the troops. Another is dead. It will come to an end. When it comes to a head, I hope the march is led by the combos we pursue. No chorus. No, ain't nobody trying to sing this shit. Ain't nobody trying to sing this shit. Nope.
Okay, so let's get started. Why women are hard on women or on other women. This is a topic that's well overdue. I've touched base on this a couple of years back. I'm not sure if I did a video in regards to it though, but it's something that needs to be discussed. All right, now let me throw some things out there, or some reasons out there why women are hard on other women. Okay. One stems from how we were raised. All right. Girls were raised that we couldn't be silly. We couldn't enjoy life. When I say silly or enjoy life, meaning childishness. When we were children, we weren't allowed to be children and very childish. We had to be mature. Whenever we were childish, silly, goofy, at the ages that we're supposed to be, we were reprimanded, scolded for that, looked down upon, frowned upon for being that, because we had to be mature. We had to learn how to cook. We had to learn how to clean the house and take care of things. And I'm not saying that wasn't correct. That is correct. However, we weren't allowed to just let our hair down, just let our shoulders down. Like we weren't allowed. We always had to be like this. And we don't understand that the ramifications of that it's almost, I don't want to say it's a permanent stain, but it creates a stain of disdain. Okay? Because deep inside all of us, every adult is a little child. And even as an adult, we have to satisfy that little child. Don't believe me? Okay. Whenever you go to the carnivals and you get on rides and you get on a swing or you do those things that you did when you were a child, that is still you as an adult satisfying the kid in you. And too often we weren't able to satisfy the kid in us when we were kids. So that left us a big void of enjoying that part of life. It builds disdain. It builds hate. It builds uneasiness. It builds cynicism because that part of us has not been fulfilled. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing that's out there, as far as women is concerned, we're addressing women right now in this topic. The other thing that's out there is women feeling like they're not enough. Too often, for the life of me, I don't understand what it is about this culture, our culture and society, where girls and women are always, how do you call that? Not in competition, but it's like we're always examined against one another. Like we're not allowed to just be who we are as we are. We're always put against another woman and judged. And in that judging, society doesn't allow room for women of all different backgrounds, shapes, and sizes to just be and reign supreme in what we do. It's like society says that there's not enough room for all women to reign supreme in what we do. So we have to, in some way, trim the fat by judging and pitting one against the other. So if you ever notice, anytime a younger woman is coming up, girl, teenager, she's coming up, they're getting ready to get rid of the woman or the one who was there before. Let the new one get rid of the old. Quick to say that we're old. Let the new, fresh, young meat, young blood come in. So there's that. We have that factor. We have the factor of, because of that, women abusing young girls. Only on the strength of that at all. Only on the strength of that. Simply because women feel like they haven't fulfilled so many different aspects in their life. And they've taken their frustrations out on the young girls that are coming up. Because they're fitting and going along with what society says that we should do and who we are, how we should be living. So they know in a matter of a couple of years that they're supposed to park it, take a back seat, and not fulfill certain dreams of their lives, just not be who they want to be. It's almost like the world and society tells women that after a certain age, you should just die. Before you're dead, that you should just die. Your spirit should just, everything tailored around you. From the time you get 40 years old, you should just take a back seat. And that's not old. For those of you who are in your 40s and up, I will be 42 next month. We know that that's not old. We know that at the age of 37, for many of us, we're just getting it. We're just getting past dealing with the stigma of society trying to break us down. And in that, you're so confused, you don't know what direction that you're trying to go in, because it's like you're getting attacked from so many different angles. We haven't even learned how to just relax and say everybody can just go screw themselves for right now. Okay, because what you say or do don't affect me. You know why? Because at that age, what they were saying and doing to a great extent did affect you. If they ostracized and condemned you, you may not have gotten that raise. You may not have gotten the job at all, or you may have gotten fired from that job. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying this to be paranoid, but I'm just saying that those were some of the elements that were in play against women. Too often, it's like society dumps its trash on women and tells us that we're supposed to smile and take that with a grin, as if we're here to be human trash cans. And that's a hard thing to say, but just look at it. It's like society doesn't see women as human beings. Like, they understand that we're human beings, but it's like they see us as different, as if we don't have roles outside of just procreating and being buckets to take abuse. So what happens too often is that you build a society, and it doesn't matter what race we're in, we build a society where women are disposing their pain and all their trash onto other women. And it's done without compassion, because society hasn't been compassionate to women. So it's a tragic thing to witness, because it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And it's one we must overcome, and we will overcome it. Okay. But in order for us to overcome it, we need to have more of these discussions and put more of what's at play. Why? The other thing is that women don't discuss things that we have gone through, things that we've overcome. We feel uncomfortable to discuss these things because society tells us that we shouldn't discuss it. Like you should just be strong, deal with it, and then overcome. And then you have another percentage of society that believes that you just, you're the damsel in distress. You like to sell a sob story just so people can feel sorry for you. And then there's another part of society that sells a sob story so people can feel sorry for them, because life may be too difficult for them to take on the challenges alone. So they find a way to become to victimize themselves so that they can manipulate people into helping them. So we have so much different elements that's going on that many people don't know what the truth is, and then they just shut down. And it's just easier to say, well, you're a woman, you can suck it up. Suck it up, get over it. Even in groups, when you look at groups that women go through, like self-help groups, those groups are for women many times, not all of them. Many of those groups are for the women that are damn near broken. They're broken. They've been addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol. They've been in a domestic violence case. It's always groups, whereas the extreme case has taken into place, and now these women actually need help, right? But we're the intermediate groups, the groups where, women, it hasn't gone that far, but they see things going downhill and they decide to jump in, and they can collaborate with other women and discuss things that they've been through, overcome it, and find a way to making a better life. Those groups rarely exist. It's hard, it's struggling, because again, women are looked at as the human trash cans, and other women, because they feel pain, they feel like they've been overlooked, or people are deliberately not wanting to hear them or hear how they feel, that they don't have time to hear how another woman feel. And in fact, they will actually make life, deliberately make life difficult for you, because life is difficult for them. Or you have some people use the tactic that life may not be difficult for them, but in order for them to not be attacked and skate through life without any problems or much resistances, they have to set booby traps and trap other women into dealing with the oppression and the pain and the abuse from other people. set the distraction. So while everybody else is distracted on this one person, they can go along and move through life with breeze and ease. And they're disconnected from the trauma and the pain that caused because they're not affected by it. They may have seen other women affected by it. And in their mind, they say, like, hell, I am not going to deal with that in life. I cannot deal with that in life. But they haven't learned how to create a positive paradigm. Hence, it's easier to create a paradigm where you make someone else the victim and create a distraction than it is for you to look at the bigger picture and create one with balance so that you and any other woman that you're connected to can go through life with ease and peace. Okay? Again, it's such a vicious cycle. And a lot of people are running around here with like chickens with their head cut offs, and they just don't know how to make life better for anyone else. Some of them don't know how to make life better for themselves. So too often, I think it's, what's her name, Madeleine Albright, that says that there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. Now, I always say that it's not your job to help me. You don't have to help me. However, there's a special place in hell for women who deliberately make life hard for other women, for women who deliberately condemn other women, who don't really have another reason, a real good reason to condemn women other than the hatreds that's held within, other than disposing of their trash onto other women. There's a special place in hell for women who do that. Okay? All simply because you know what it feels like to be oppressed. You know what it looks like. If you haven't dealt with it directly, you've seen someone else deal with it, you've heard someone else deal with it. And too often we do each other great disservices. Again, there's the other message that there's not enough. As I said earlier, there's not enough for, there's not enough, society makes women feel like, as I said again, that there isn't enough to go around. Hence, many women feel that their existence and survival is contingent upon your demise because there's not enough. So I have to get rid of you or get you out of the picture in order for me to stand. And that's not true. That's not true. Okay. So how do we shift this paradigm? How do we create a pleasant experience for all of us to live and grow and flourish? You know how we create that? By being as authentic as we can be. By understanding that another human being does not determine or cannot tell you what your destiny is. They're not God. Let's start with that first. And I'm not religious or anything like that, but let's revert back to, we have a creator that created us all, whether we call it God, Allah, whoever we want to call this creator. There's a creator that created all of mankind, all of everything that exists. Okay? A human being that has no control over the creation process cannot tell you what your future holds. Let's start with that. Let's build confidence off of that. Another human being cannot tell you what your ultimate future holds. They can't, because they're not God. They have that because they're not thinking what you're thinking. They don't know that something can happen to you tomorrow, which can change your whole perspective, which in turn you can change exactly how you do things, which will change your outcome. No one knows that but you. The power is within you. The power is within your prayer and within you seeking the higher being, which is the ultimate creator of all. You will get your direction and your compass from that higher being. Women should cut. Well, why do you say that? Okay, so can you explain that? Okay. Why do you think that? Let's start with the first thing you say. Women should have their uterus cut out and their throat slit. Why do you believe that? And it seems like you have like a lot of rage to pay for their wrongdoings to men. Yeah, they okay. I I understand. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to assume that. Okay. So let me just say this. Have you ever thought about the wrong things doings that was bestowed upon women? Remember, women had to fight for women's liberation, I believe, took place in the 50s or the 60s, right? Before women's liberation, remember, women weren't even considered, they weren't respected. They weren't considered even as a human being. They weren't allowed to vote. They weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to participate in certain community things. They were just only looked at as people to clean the house, take, procreate, and to be fucked. And a lot of times, women back in those days before the 60s came here were abused. They were abused, and there were no one to hear them out. There were no laws that said that it was wrong to rape women or it was wrong to sexually abuse little girls. Um, no, I do read, and remember, I gave you a part of history. So, okay, thank you, Justin, and Obama bin Laden. Just so, because I just want to be respectful for everybody. Just to note that I do read. One thing you're not going to hear me quote though is words from book word for word verbatim, simply because a lot of what's in the book, I'm not saying that they're not truth or facts, but they're for old systems, right? So in order for us to change what's going on today, we're going to have to apply new theory. Remember, anything that is documented as a fact first started off as a theory and then has been put into play, and then they tweaked it as they needed, and when they found the perfect formula, then it has been put into a book and made a fact, right? So a lot of what you're going to see me say in any of my lives or recordings is going to be theory, because I speak from what I see happening in the present and what I can see us doing in the future, knowing what happened in the past, if that makes sense. Because too often, many of us are quoting the book and then we don't have solutions for today's problems and what we can see in the future. So I'm more futuristic. All right. So you're not going to get history lessons from me. No, no, not really. But anyway, thank you very much, Justin. So let me just say this, because you threw me off as in talking about women. In order for us to shift the paradigm of what we're doing, we're going to have to understand that there was a God that created all of us, and no human being can determine our destiny and our future. Why this is important is that once you rely on the fact that there was a creator, then it will relieve you of the hate and the disdain that you've been holding in your heart, because too often we're listening to other people and we're believing what other people say. And then we're actually taking that to the grave with us and not living the best expression of ourselves. But if we remember that the creator created us, and it's not over until the fat lady sings, like how they say, which is it's not over until God says it's over, and that you can accomplish and do anything that you so work hard for, you will no longer pay attention to what the negative things that people are saying. You will start to build more love and more understanding for self. That's one. Two is to get into self-awareness, okay? Self-awareness is very important. I give classes on that. Actually, I have a self-wealth mentorship program, which is based off of 3 pillars: self-awareness, self-enlightenment, and self-empowerment. Now, this is not something to make you self-absorbed or to make you to become a narcissist, right? This is more about finding out who you are, getting a wealth of information of self. because too often people become victims of negative things that people say and believe those things because we don't know who we are, right? So when you don't know who you are and you don't know how great you can become, you believe the limitation that other people are throwing off on you, right? So hence making you what? The human trash can. So we want to remove ourselves from being the human trash can. We're not trash cans, and we don't want to throw our trash onto other people. That's not what we're here for. God created us here to help other people. Remember, one hand washes the other. But in order for you to effectively do that, and to do that with love, which means that you don't non-condemning and non-judgmental. Now, it's okay to assess. So you need to judge / assess in order for you to understand which direction you need to go, who to marry, what school to go to, what job to take. All of that, everything we do in life, we have to have that discernment, judge, assess. And why I'm breaking it down is because many people shy away from the word judge because we look at it as a negative thing. It's not negative. You know what's negative? The action that comes along with it. Because many people don't understand that these things are separate and it'll be broken down. Now, let me give you an example. If I judge you to be a child abuser, a murderer, a rapist, it's not my place to go and disrespect you or mistreat you based off of my judgment of you. If I judge you to be that way, my best action should be is to just keep myself safe. That's it, but not to deliberately try to harm you. But so often people think that once they judge a person to be a certain way, that they should also treat you a certain way, and that's wrong. That is absolutely wrong, and that's where a lot of our problems come from. That's why we're even having this discussion, right? Because if you're judged to be over and done with and you should just wait in a rocking chair until you die, that's how people treat you. So anything that you try to accomplish, they try to knock it down. And when your will is weak because you don't know who you are, you don't really have the resilience to fight through it. So once they slap it down the first time, it's like you say, oh, you drop your shoulders and then you walk away and you believe that slap. Sometimes we don't try again. So this recording is to let you know that it's not so much of the hate that you're holding in, but it's more of the love that you don't have within because you don't know enough about you and what you can accomplish. You don't know what your purpose is. You know, the other thing is finding your purpose. A lot of times your purpose is attached to your gift. Okay, why this is important. We all have a purpose. God has given us, outside of a job that we work to take care of ourselves, we all have a job that has been given to us by the all-knowing, the all-seeing, by the Creator. Our job on earth is to find what that purpose is and then do it. Okay, why that's important is that once you know what your purpose is, nothing can stop you. Not to say that you're going to have an attitude about it, but to say, this is what my gift is. And your purpose also solves problems. It's a solution to a problem. So how can someone tell you that you can't do something that's a solution? You understand what I'm saying? Once you're solving a problem, you're needed. You're an asset to this world. There's a lot of people that need your voice, that need your help. So hence, you won't fall victim to believing that someone thinks that your life is over and that you should just be a trash can. You understand what I'm saying? So once you're moving in that direction, you'll start to see that the disdain, the hatred, the cynicism that you were once holding, it starts to recede. And then you start to treat women and people overall better. You start to be better to people. Trust me, it works. You blame men for it. Well, you know what? So Obama, Bin Laden, there's a lot of men, though, although you could be trolling, there's a lot of men who do think like you. And everything that you're saying, that you're typing, I'm thinking deeper. right? Thank you very much, Justin. In thinking deeper, everything that you say can cause you, like there's a lot of men that who think right and speak like you, who actually abuse women because you think that that's how women are. You're blaming the woman that you're abusing. You're blaming her for the woman that had mistreated you somewhere along the line. Maybe it was your mom, maybe it was the person that raised you. So now you're taking your frustration and your cynicism and your hatred and your lack of self-love out on other women who come into your life. No, I got to the point, and I just said that I can imagine you by everything that you just typed. I can imagine that you will not be loving towards a woman, regardless if she's deserving of it or not. I can imagine that you will be abusive to a woman, regardless if she's deserving of it or not, because you're speaking in absolute. I'm not blaming men. I'm talking to you. See, the other thing is that we have to be accountable for our actions. This is the other thing that I was going to say, because once we behave in a certain way, we can't blame, our past and, my mom did this to me and my dad did this to me. You're responsible and accountable for your actions. If you go to rob a bank and your story is, well, I've been poor growing up and, we had to eat oodles and noodles. That doesn't change the fact that you're going to get arrested and sentenced to jail. Okay, you are accountable for your actions despite what your past, your history, and your experiences were. You are 100% accountable for everything that you do. So in speaking, this is why I'm having this recording, because we are accountable, right? But my tactic is never to just point finger and say you're accountable and you're just disgusting because it doesn't make sense. I understand that it comes from some place. So what I'm doing when you're saying I'm beating around the bush, actually what I'm doing is putting out the places where this type of behavior come from and why people are the way they were. Okay, so okay. So you happen to be the only man that I've ever heard of that speak in that type of way. But okay, so let me go on to say this. In speaking, we're accountable for our actions, right? So everything that we do, despite our experiences, we're still accountable in this day and age. So the world is not going to see it as you may have had some hard times and you were treated as a human trash can, and this is what you're doing. Right now, what you look like to the world is just angry women. Women are bitter, women are angry, women are envious. Envy is a killer. Women are treacherous. All of those nasty, ugly things that women do come from some place, and it comes from a place of feeling like you're not enough. And it comes from a place of feeling inferior whenever you're in the presence of other women. And I implore you to ask yourself, why do you feel that way in the presence of other women? Why do you not feel confident and superior? Not that you're better than anybody, but you have a right to feel confident and superior in your stance, whether you're by yourself or whether you're surrounded by other women. So I implore you to ask yourself that, right? And then when you ask yourself that, I ask that you do it without any resistances, without any attitude, just with pure sincerity and an authenticity. Why this is important is if you want to heal yourself of such hatred that you've been holding in, that disdain that you've been holding in, that discomfort, that lack of love, that lack of not knowing who you are, the only way you're going to do that is if you do it from a place of sincerity and no resistances and relax your ego. Relax the ego. That means that when you get responses and the response reveal that you've done some things that you shouldn't have done, maybe you should have thought about it. Your response shouldn't be, well, so what? Because he said this or she said that. Because the moment you start doing that, you start building up walls, and then you don't allow yourself to be open to really reveal what's been going on with you so that you can heal yourself from it. So there are going to be some things that's going to come to light that's going to that you're going to see that you weren't so nice. I think that's one of the hardest things. That was one of the things that almost broke me on my journey to self-awareness, was coming to grips with who I really was and some of the things that I was doing and not realizing due to being oblivious and just reactive, right? So in reaction, every little thing that touches you, fire touch you, you do what? You got to knock it off. That's what reaction is. It's raining, water get on your neck, you're like this. That's just an automatic reaction without you really thinking about the ramifications of your action. Is you're just reactive. What I'm showing you is on how to get to a place of being proactive opposed to reactive. Excuse me, because when you're proactive, you're able to see the world from a different lens, a different perspective, and you're actually able to make decisions from a calm space without haste. Now, that actually inclines you to make better decisions and decisions that are longer lasting, meaning you took your time. Let me give you an example. You took your time, you scouted out the neighborhood in which you wanted to move. You went there at night, you went there during the day, you went there at different hours, and it really turns out to be a nice neighborhood. That neighborhood, you can stay there for 15 years until you buy a house or do whatever you want to do. Versus someone told you that this neighborhood was nice, you went there about once or twice, you liked what you saw, you quickly got that apartment, and next thing you know, at night the freaks came out and you can't take it. Everybody's just out there, and it's just not the type of lifestyle you want to be around. So guess what? In 2 months, you're looking for another place to live immediately. You see what I'm saying? So when you're making decisions without calm and from a reactive nature, many times your decisions is short-sighted, which inclines you to have to make another decision to offset that, in which you put more stress onto yourself. And there we go with the cycle. And then you're always stressed. It seems like you never have time. You're never enough. And then you're angry at the woman that you see smiling, walking down the street, or she's at work. She appears to be happy and pleasant, but you don't know what she's going through. So to you, your life is hell. And when another woman is comfortable, that makes you angry. That brings out your envy and your cynicism because you can't seem to catch a break. But you don't know if this woman is going through the same thing. You know why? Because we were also taught to never let them see you sweat. Remember that? Never let them see you sweat. We were all taught that. How many people walk down the street or is going through hard times that, is out here crying every day? Oh my God. We rarely see people like that. We were taught not to be that way. So that is something that we should remember. You just never know what someone is going through. And you'd be surprised that when they explain what they're going through, it's like, what? And I'm over here catching a hissy fit over my situation. Your situation can be peanuts to someone else's. The other thing that we do all too often is that we cut people a break only when we know that they're going through a hell of a hard time. Only when we know that their life is bad do we start to cut people a break. So I implore you again, what is it about many women that respects other women or respect people in general when they can take abuse and still smile and be pleasant, be professional? What is it about women that only then will you give your stamp of approval to another woman when you actually know that she has gone through a hard time? Like why can't a woman just live a life and not have a hard time at all and still be able to just climb the ladder, live a good life, climb the ladder and be happy? What is it about that person that breeds such disdain within you, or that makes you want to stop that person's progress? Those are questions that you should ask yourself as well. Now, I'm a woman that came from a hard background. I was abused. I was sexually abused, sodomized, verbally abused, physically abused, psychologically abused, told I was stupid, I wasn't smart enough. You name it. I was always the philosopher. The woman I am today is how I was back then, and my family didn't understand that. When everybody complained about that one problem and they asked me what was my opinion, I tell them something else because I couldn't understand why everybody is complaining and talking about the same thing. I see other problems with the picture, and they couldn't understand why was it that I was always saying something else. Not that I didn't see the problem that they called the problem, but I always saw something else that could have been the problem, and they couldn't understand that. You see what I'm saying? So I know this topic all too well. This is why I'm able to give these courses or even have these lives or these types of discussion, right? But I always have to say thank God. And we didn't go to church. I'm not a church going person, but I was always connected to source. I always had that inner prayer. I always used to say, I'm going to get out of this. One day I'm going to get out of this. I always used to talk to myself, and I knew I was going to get out of it. Hence, I didn't have envy to where, like, I've never been envious of another woman. You know, I've always been full figured. I have a nice shape. Now I'm a little overweight, but back then I used to have a lot of pimples on my chest, pimples on my back, my face, everything. Always had long hair, but I was never envious of another woman, and I never tried to stop another woman's progress. But all too often, I've seen other women who've done that to me. I was able to make it past it and beat past it because I have a brain, and I was always a problem solver. So you can't stop a person who's a problem solver, really. However, I know how ugly that is. It's so ugly. Oh, at the workplace, women will gang up on you, you know. And at one point, I was like, you know, when I looked at the office, and I'm like, if you just look at women in corporate America, you would think that voluptuous women don't exist. Now, when I say voluptuous women, I'm talking about the, you know, women with the nice shape, the breasts, the hips, full-figured women, not overweight women, but full-figured. When I say full-figured, who can I give you an example of a full-figured woman? Jill Scott, but not overweight Jill Scott. You see when Jill Scott lost her weight, when her waist was slim and everything, but you see she still had big breasts and hips. That's a full-figured woman versus a woman that's shaped like Beyonce. Beyonce is not full-figured. She has a beautiful shape, but her figure isn't a full-figured shape. Oprah Winfrey has a full-figured shape. I'm not talking about overweight Oprah, but if you go back in the archives and saw when Oprah dropped over 100 pounds and she had no excess weight, Oprah still had full breasts. She still had thick thighs and a behind. She had no flabby, nothing extra, but she still was very plumped. That's a full-figured shape. And even a good shaped women. But I say this to say, if you look in many offices and at many jobs where a lot of women work, you would think that women with nice shapes, or how can I say, the balanced shape, the pear shape, the hourglass shape, you would think that we don't exist. And that's because of the ferociousness that women attack other women with, because society has told them that they weren't good enough, and they weren't taught to love themselves or to enhance what's great about them. So too often they focused on the other woman and not knowing that a lot of the other women have gone through some things. Yes, crabs in the bucket, Justice, and the envy is real. You know what I mean? And it's because of what they were taught and what they saw, and not knowing who they are, you know. So I say again, leaning back on the Creator, when you learn who you are and you have a wealth of information of self, you also learn how to build and strengthen your strengths. You also learn that some of your weaknesses can be strengthened, and you strengthen them. Some weaknesses cannot be strengthened, but that's okay. It's okay. But then you also learn how to offset it, you know. So let me give you an example. Let's say you can't draw, but you can color. Someone else can draw. Your offset to that is, well, I can color everything you draw. Therefore, your weaknesses is not, it's overlooked. It becomes overlooked because now it's like you can complement your strength complements the other person's strength, opposed to looking at our weaknesses, and too often society has taught people to look at people's weaknesses and their shortcomings. But that's not all of who we are, right? It's not all of who we are. We are complex. And complexity is a main factor, and also nuances. There are main factors in our lives, right? What do I mean by that? Okay. I gave the example, I'm not sure if it was on YouTube or Facebook, because I'm talking everywhere sometimes. But here's complexity. We understand that it takes the colors yellow and blue to make the color green, right? Complexity is this. We see yellow, we recognize yellow, we recognize the color blue, and we recognize the color green. We see the color green as a whole color, not understanding that it took two colors to even make green. Then the other part of complexity is let's say the blue people are drawn to the blue in you. They completely dismiss the yellow in you because they don't like the yellow. They don't even understand the yellow, so they don't acknowledge it. They only acknowledge the blue. But what happens when the yellow surfaces? What happens when yellow shows up? They start to condemn you. Oh, you're fake. You're this, you're that, you're the third. No, you're not. Because ultimately you're the color green. You dismissed another color because you were only, attracted to or connected with the one color. And here's another form of complexity. Depending on the type of green, will tell you the shades of either yellow or blue. Like lime green means that there's more yellow in it than there is blue, right? So complexity is major. We're whole human beings, but there's so many different layers and different parts to us. However, society holds people hostage to a label. And there's a lot of people walking around here hostages in their skin because they feel like they have to conform to a label, and you don't have to let that confine you. How does that, and why do people label people, right? Because people like certainty. People and it's ego that wants that certainty to say that if I say that this was green, it better be green when I go to gossip about it tomorrow, right? The moment it shows up as yellow when I go to gossip about it tomorrow, that makes me feel some type of way, like I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Or how about we just don't allow ego to make decisions for us at all? How about we just understand that you cannot be certain about people all the time and for everything. We're not even certain about ourselves. How about we understand that there's people who want to control other people, yet they can't control themselves? What do I mean by that? Okay, if something goes down in your community right now, do you know how you're going to respond? If your job puts out a letter saying that they're going to have layoffs and they just tell you that they're going to lay off 20 people, they didn't say what names, but they're looking to lay off 20 people, do you know how you're going to respond? How you're going to act? Or you can be a person that never tried to set anybody up a day in your life. But the moment you get that letter that you guys get notice that your company is going to lay off 20 people, you might become a person that's like, well, I got to stay at this job. So guess what? I'm setting everybody up. I'm creating lies. I'm creating distractions. I'm doing all types of things to make sure I get those 20 people, other people fired, and I remain here. You don't know who you're going to be. So, which means that you don't control yourself, but we're looking to control other people, right? So that's also a major factor in why women are so mean towards other women. The other factor is, what was I going to say? The other factor is that because women, have been so much high expectations are placed on women. Women don't tolerate anything less than those expectations. Whatever those expectations are, they hold other women to those very same expectations. And if they feel that those women don't meet those expectations, then they trash them. Like there's no in between. Like, okay, well, those expectations are mine, but who's to say that my expectations are the it factor or high quality? Or authentic? Who's to even say that, right? But we have so much measuring sticks, and the measuring sticks, what are they based off of? They're not based off of true principle, sincerity, and authenticity, which makes it so easy for women to be mean to other women and condemn other women. Because when your measuring stick is not based off of universal law, it's very easy to find flaw in anyone else. It's very easy for someone else to not meet your expectations because they're not living to live the same life as you. Their purpose is completely different to yours. There I go again with purpose. When you learn what your purpose is, the way you move, your purpose will determine the way you move and how you interact with other people. It will also give you great self-advocacy. So when people try you, you know how to advocate for yourself with great confidence. You women only want a guy who's hot and has money. No woman is innocent. They all will burn. You women aren't worthy of being in the presence of men. I mean, you women believe your own bullshit. Incredible. Well, to each their own. Obama been look at your name though. You're not using your own name. Yeah, I know, Justin. He's not using his own name, so he's commenting on social media using names that belong to someone else. So how can you be taken seriously? I think some of the hatred that you're spilling off on this page has a lot to do with you and how inauthentic you are. You do have to understand that if you're not sincere and if you're not authentic, then people won't respect you. They won't respect you. And by just I say this again, by the things that you're writing, what kind of person is going to allow you into their space? You're going to come into their space and then you're going to make their lives hell. It's not really pray tell then. It's actually you have to be accountable for you. It's actually you have to address why you're so hateful towards women. And anytime you continue to point the finger at them, there's going to be 3 fingers pointing back at you, which reveals that you're more accountable than the people that you're pointing the finger at. So I'm going to say this to you time and time again. You can continue to type what you're typing, but you're just revealing the cynicism that's within you. You're revealing the abuse that's within you, the hatred that's within you, the lack of self-love, the lack of self-knowing. You don't know who you are. You talk like this to your mother? Okay, so there lies the challenge. And it's not that it's because your mother allowed you to disrespect her. It's probably because your mother somewhere down the line may have failed you. She may have failed you, I don't know. Or you could just have been born with certain personality disorders where it could be on the borderline of sociopathic, narcissistic, psychopath, because some people are born with those personality disorders despite who raised them. Well, there's no such thing as there's no good woman. You know why? You haven't dated all the women in your community or in this world. This is why I say you speaking in absolute is just revealing a major flaw. And whether you're a troll or not, I believe that some of what you're typing has a lot to do with how you feel. Okay, so do understand that you say the quality of women are shit. I don't ever talk about men like that. You know why? Because I don't allow people who aren't shit into my life and into my space. You are 100% accountable for anybody that you allow in your life and in your space. So you have no control over the type of people and energy you attract, because your people are magnetic. And a magnet that can't tell the difference between a refrigerator, a stove, or a filing cabinet. As long as it's metal, it's going to connect, right? However, you are 100% accountable for the type of woman that you allow in your space. So when you say that they're not shit, and you talk about women in that way, then you have to also question yourself as to what's wrong with you, or what is it about you that allowed women like that in your space. Well, you call it failed investments, but the best investment is you. So if you invested in yourself, which doesn't require any money, depending on what your investment is. If you're going to take a seminar and a course, then you'll spend money. But if you invest in yourself, then you would know you. You would get a wealth of information of yourself, and you would also learn how to not accept people in your life that's not healthy for you. You would then start to attract better people. But can you imagine, you're using the first name Obama. Do you think that you can hold a conversation with Barack Obama speaking the way you're speaking? Right? So you're talking negative about men. But I can list a plethora of men that you wouldn't be able to hold a conversation with because of your negativity. You wouldn't, they wouldn't, it will turn out to be them trying to teach you something versus having a mutual discussion. Because they would understand that there's some things that you need to learn. Well, some women are like that because some women are mean, which is some of the things that I just discussed here, right? But all women aren't to blame for that. Well, here's the thing. Now you say at least you don't lie like Obama. Well, if that's the case, then you certainly shouldn't be using the name Obama bin Laden. It doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron, and it just reveals that you don't like yourself. Okay? You don't like yourself. Okay? That's very important for you to realize. Now, my YouTube channel is called Everyone Let's Talk because that's the name of my business. If I wasn't operating as a business, then it would be my name, Arlene J. Ramsey, which I have no problem with telling people my name. But I don't operate under other aliases. I love who I am and everything about me. Okay. So anyway, I want to be done with that, with just giving women some pointers on how we can be better. All right. For those of you who are just tuning in, when I shut this off, of course you can replay it. But as I said again, you first start off with finding your confidence in understanding that there is one creator, this creator who created everything. And that creator has given all of us a purpose. We have a job to do. Hence, a human being cannot tell us what our future holds. They can't, because they're not God. All right? Leaning on that will give you great confidence, and that confidence will relieve you of the cynicism, the envy, the hate that you've been having and distilling onto other women. And you'll soon learn that no longer will you have to, use other women as a trash can. Now you will barely have trash to put out. You understand what I'm saying? And I'll leave you guys with that. If you have any other questions, Justin, do you have any questions? Yeah, because you're funny. Justin, do you have any questions? Or does anybody watching have any questions before I log out? Thank you, Justin, for you're quite welcome. And thanks for listening. If you think that there's something that you would like to see me talk about, just let me know. Type it and let me know, and I'll prepare to have that as a live as well. Until next time, enjoy your evening and be well. Peace. I'm gonna let the music play in the meanwhile.
Of course. Nobody tryna sing this shit. 'Cause ain't nobody tryna sing this shit. Ain't nobody tryna sing this shit. Ain't nobody tryna sing this shit. Ain't nobody tryna sing.